if it wasn't discrimination. And you have the nerve, you have the nerve to sit there on your high horse and preach to these bottom-feeding dwellers who sit in the chat room, like Alliance Blog, who's been doing this for over a decade and still only got 2,000 followers. Yeah, I see you. You're a jabroni and a ham sandwich, and I don't want to hear from you ever again about what the NWA is supposed to do. This is what pro wrestling is supposed to be. This is what the NWA is supposed to be. No. You don't tell anyone what the NWA is supposed to be, and you certainly don't lecture me about what the NWA is supposed to be. I made the NWA.
And now, our feature presentation.
The best in the world is right here, right now.
Whether you like it or don't like it, pal, learn to love it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
welcome. All right, listen up.
Now it's our time to step forward. It's time to bring the NWA back into the spotlight.
I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you and I formed an alliance.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Attention, everyone. Welcome to the greatest wrestling program in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
It's the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, DKM, and JCal.
Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for ham sandwiches and jabronis. I'm your host, JCal. With me is former NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion Kevin Lee Frazier. Kevin, what's going on, my friend?
Brother.
And
for a show today.
For show. And also in the house, we got DKM, the man with the plan. Welcome to the show, Mr. DKM. How are you?
I am excellent. I am so excited because our best friend gave us a shout.
I want to personally. Well, we just lost Kevin, and now DK just lowered himself. We can't see you, DK. Raise the camera up.
Hey, this is production value at its finest.
I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Nick Aldis. You know, we've had some good times over the years. I mean, whether it be you answering my questions at the NWA Nashville show or hanging out in China at that one crazy bar where the owner gave us free drinks. Just want to say thank you for the shout out. I hope that we get to see each other real soon. I'll make sure to bring one of these nice limited edition t-shirts for you. And I can't wait to get back in Atlanta to shake your hand and say thanks, buddy, because I really do appreciate the support, and I really do appreciate the enthusiasm. And that's all I wanted to say about that. Kev, I know you had something you wanted to say. Why don't you go ahead?
I mean, I would really like to say thank you for the recognition. You know, part of me ran over my head like what kind of promo would I have for Nick Aldis? Do I talk about, 2009 in Corpus Christi, Texas, when I was doing my tryout for the WWE, and maybe Mickie James came over, and anyways, I decided not to talk about that. Do I talk about the my time as NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion, and when Nick Aldis wasn't even in the NWA, and
was he even in the country?
I don't even know if anybody knew who he was at the time, or even if Nick even knows that someone that probably knows more about wrestling than him is even on this show, or someone that probably beats his work rate at least by double, at least in my day. Or someone like myself who has at least one more prestigious victory over a WWE World Champion and legend that he would never have nor ever will have. You know, I wondered if I was going to take shots at him like that, but I thought, you know, that wouldn't be a good idea. All I really want to say is, Nick, thank you. We appreciate the plug. And, you know, when you're a yes man and you're somewhat of a butt kiss, you know, yeah, maybe you do get a few more followers and a few more pats on the behind. But at least on this show, you're going to get a real opinion. You're going to hear the real truth, and it's probably why you're not listening to the show.
Oh, hey, look at that. Somebody just bought a Ham Sammich shirt. You can get those shirts.
And also, before I finish, don't ask me anything about 2009 in Corpus Christi. Please, no comment.
I have the video. Anyway, I guess it's my turn now. I'm so excited. And for those of you who have not yet noticed yet, I have put the link in the chat. I'll probably put it in there a couple more times throughout the show. So, you know, be great and go buy one of those and wear them to your next NWA show. Now, I was kind of like Kevin. I was trying to think about, you know, how was I going to respond besides the big thank you? Because, I mean, I really do appreciate it. I mean, more people probably heard about Alliance Blog now than before, and that's just a positive thing. And people are going to now want to check out, you know, why we are as good as we are, because, you know, we're honest, we tell the truth, and we have a lot of fun. We certainly have a lot of fun with the people in the chat room. And so, you know, I heard, you know, all this talk about, you know, himself, and hey, you know, I won't let the fact that I was an NWA fan, you know, and learning about wrestling and the business, you know, for years before his daddy forgot to pull out. I won't bring that up. And you okay, Jay? Anyway, and you know, I heard him say how he built the NWA. And I just want to say that Harley Race, Lou Thez, you know, Pat O'Connor, Ric Flair, the Great Muta, all of them want to say thank you to Nick Aldis for building the NWA, because we all know that if Nick Aldis had been champion of Billy Corgan Championship Wrestling, that, you know, he would have the same following and the same thing. And so we are thankful that you mentioned us, you know, from your place up on high. And I don't know if Jay's live yet or not. And, you know, with that being said, I think we just need to go into the review of a show that, you know, I believe most of us liked.
So, yeah, without any further ado, let's talk about the show. Let's talk about NWA POWERRR. You know, the show that Nick Aldis built with his own two hands. The show, I thought, was really a step forward in the right direction. Not only did we get more wrestling, there was an absence of somebody, and I don't know, the show just felt like it ran smoother. It seemed less convoluted. Like, I know there was some botches, I know there were some mistakes made, but at the end of the day, like, this show was the best NWA Power episode since they've returned. I'm not going to say it's the best episode ever, because no, there were some flaws. There's some things that needed to be, that should have been better, that could have been better. But I think the way they kicked off the show, addressing the fact that Strictly Business robbed you, the viewer, of the main event last week, I felt like that was appropriate. I like the fact that Billy Corgan addressed the situation. You know, that's one of the drawbacks for professional wrestling is, for so long you've had these scripted general managers, these front office guys on camera. I mean, nobody does it as well as our friend Adam Pearce does for the WWE. But since, you know, before Adam, that role has been kind of dragged through the mud, and it's been kind of like a pointless position. But it almost feels like maybe that's what the NWA needs to kind of counteract Nick Aldis trying to call all the shots, trying to call all the, you know, be the dealer, if you will. And it was kind of nice to have, even though it was in a letter form, William Patrick Corgan address the situation, levy fines, docked pay, and set up a main event that to me was on paper should have been a great match. So I was very happy with the way the show started. And again, no Nick Aldis, no Strictly Business, and the show was just fine. Kevin, what were your thoughts on the way the show opened up?
As far as how the show opened, I don't know if I'm giving a total synopsis, or are we just talking about the opening?
Just the open.
Remind me how the show opened.
So we had Billy Corgan. We had Kyle Davis at the podium reading the letter.
The whole thing. Okay. It was all right. It was okay. I think of Billy Corgan running a wrestling promotion a lot like Jerry Jones.
Real quick. I just want to say thank you to Dr. Lawrence Zirconium of Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, who just picked up his Ham Sammich t-shirt. Thank you, Dr. Z. We appreciate your support. All right, let's continue.
I was saying, I feel like Billy Corgan being in charge of a wrestling promotion or being in charge of a wrestling show is similar to Jerry Jones being the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys. Having an oil man run a football team is probably similar to having a rock band lead run a wrestling show. There's just going to be a lot lost in translation. So again, I'd like to see a wrestling person running this show. I think that would be more advised for a better product, even if it's an on-air character, just for the sake of the audience and the credibility. But as a whole, it was all right. It wasn't great, but it was definitely from the get-go, the show started feeling a little more legitimate and a lot less like Carney Twilight Zone.
DK, what were your thoughts?
Nothing wrong with Carney, okay? Is a brother.
I was glad they did something. I don't forgive them for screwing us out of the main event the week before. Again, if you don't present what you say you're going to present, your present's going to be better. So I was glad they addressed it. My hope is now that it's addressed. I'm sure all this will come in line, but let's kind of be done with this bull crap of the wrestlers and all this trying to dictate every rule and every stipulation. The world champion defends his title because he's the world champion, and that's what he does.
Right.
That's the way it works.
I want to interject real quick. I agree, DK. Before I forget, I agree that not having the wrestlers run the show is a better deal. I'll jump out now.
Thank you to my co-host, Kevin Frazier, who just picked up his Ham Sammy shirt. Thanks, Kev. We really appreciate the support.
For the record, mine was gotten before the show, so...
Yeah, DK's shirt is already ordered.
So, anyhow, so that's my hope. Even back in the day, Ric Flair or Harley Race or any of the champions, they might have gotten mad at the promoter. They might have gotten mad at the NWA president or whatever. But when push came to shove, they did what he said. And I remember one time Bob Geigel coming in and saying, "You're either going to sign this match or you're going to give me the belt. Which one do you want to do?" And we need more of that. And so
I agree.
And the thing it said the most was that, the show didn't start off talking about Nick Aldis, but it didn't start off with Nick Aldis, and that's always a good.
One of the points that Nick Aldis made during the post show when he was on with the This Is Pro Wrestling fellas, where he made that comments towards this program, he did mention that the authority that he has and the stroke that he has in the NWA, because he wasn't even on the show, and yet that entire post show, This Is Pro Wrestling was talking about them. So he does have a point that, I mean, even though he wasn't on the show, people are still talking about him. But let's do less of that, right? Because we have something better. We have a commercial for the School of Morton. No, forget about that.
Whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. You're not letting that one go. Not with me on the show, you're not. First of all, I will say this. Not having all this on the show, and unfortunately not getting to see Latimer wrestle. Yes, that I it does take a little away from the show, but it makes us want to see him too. And I think that's kind of what we've been kind of alluding to. I think it's less criticism of like Aldis's ability to cut promos. I mean, he's top 3 in the company. But I mean, it's less about him, more about the repetition of the same old that we were really more being critical of, and maybe sometimes the way they do the promos. But I want to say that secondarily, if you want to see that exact same Ricky Morton skeleton of his video on a nationally multi-million-dollar NWA show, if you want to see that same video skeleton, you can go onto my YouTube page where I made a little deadlift video on my iPhone, and it's got the same transitions with the same music. Bootleg. I'm telling you, I got a workout video where I was making a joke about my deadlifting. It's not really a joke, it's just to be fun. And I did this little 1 minute like trailer on my iPhone, and it's got the same music and the same transitions, and at least I had high quality video made on my iPhone. That Ricky Morton video was made on an iPhone. I'm telling you, I know it because I've done it. Bootleg. Put that old rinky-dink. Man. Anyway, moving right along.
Okay, so then we, much like the podcast, it took a little while for us to get to the wrestling show during Power. And in fact, I was keeping track. It was 8 minutes and 21 seconds before we had the announcement for that first matchup. Now, this was the TV title match. And again, probably one of the matches I most wanted to see in a very long time was Matt Cross, who won last week. He won the qualifying match against, Marche Rocket, right? To get that opportunity to wrestle the Pope for the TV title. One thing that I noticed right off the bat is there was a pretty big disadvantage for Matt Cross walking into the ring. He was about 40 pounds lighter than the champ. And, when you think about Elijah Burke, when he's in the Land of Giants, he doesn't look like a big dude. But you put him in there with Matt Cross, who's 191 pounds, and there's a significant difference. There's a significant size difference. There was a lot of respect shown back and forth in this match, which I kind of liked it because we've got Elijah Burke, who's probably the top babyface of the company right now. And then you had Matt Cross, who's a guy I think is very well respected within the industry and brings a lot to the table for the NWA. All in all, the Elijah Express wins the match, and the Pope walks out still champion, now 4-0 or 5-0. What is it, 5-0? Five victories? 4.
I think his fourth title, was it his fourth title defense?
That was his fourth title defense. Okay.
Yeah.
So 4. Kev, what did you think of that match?
I liked it. It was definitely one of the better matches we've seen in weeks in terms of just the in-ring ability. Fell a little short of my expectations in terms of what I expect from those two, but that's not that's not a negative. What I'd like to see is I'd like to see him wrestle again, to be honest. Just to see. I also feel like when you have two wrestlers that are in such good shape They have the ability to really put together a match like that. 6 minutes and 5 seconds just isn't enough time for those guys to really do what they do best. And I just think it's something that the NWA really, and again, not, all joking aside, all criticism aside, but in reality, well, I guess it might be criticism, but it's just opinion. I really think it doesn't help that division specifically having such a short time limit, especially when you end up with a match that we'd have liked to seen 12, 15 minutes out of. But all in all, really, really, really decent match, really good work rate. Not great, but really good. And I think they, again, one of the things, and sorry to harp on this, just go a little too long here, but another thing that a match like this can create are a lot of these false finishes that you see today, and a lot of these, kind of, is he got him, does he got him, does he, kind of moments where you have the ooh-ahs, especially late in the match. And you really can't have that with a 6 minute and 5 second match. Not because you can't fabricate those false finishes. Meaning you can go out there and call it, you can go out there and do it, but it takes time to build the emotion. And you don't have enough time to build that kind of emotion. The guys have to actually be tired for it to feel like they're exhausted. And there's no way that these guys should be exhausted after 6 minutes. So again, you're going to lose a little bit with that time limit. Again, 10 minutes would be ideal if they're going to put a time limit, but I'd like to see them drop the time limit altogether.
Kev, DK, what did you think?
It's gimmicky.
Just to go with something Kevin said, I don't like the 6:05 time limit. It's a little too gimmicky, a little too fast. I do like the idea of time limits because I think there are certain matches where draws are good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and this could be one of them in that the champion only has to retain. He doesn't necessarily have to win. That being said, I really was looking forward to this match. I enjoyed both men's in the ring work. If I had a constructive criticism for them, and what was kind of common throughout the show, the ring work was a little bit sloppy, and I felt like Matt Cross should have been more aggressive and quicker. Elijah Burke, the Pope, it's to his benefit not to have a quick match because he wants to, he gets his victory, whether it's a draw or he wins. But in order to become the champion, you got to get in there and you got to pin a guy in, basically under 6 minutes. And so the challenger should always come out aggressive. And this is a match where they could have done a lot of chain moves together. I think they both got the talent to do that. And I didn't feel like they did. Okay, so that's enough of that. Because I enjoyed the match as it was. I really enjoyed it. It was, as Kevin said, above almost everything that they've put out since they've returned. And probably on the show, it has been above everything they've put out. There are some better matches on the pay-per-view. And, I don't really have much more to say about that. More, please.
Yeah, more of that would be great. And, oh, hey, Big Clumsy is now following us on Twitch. Thanks for the follow, Big Clumsy. I think that might be NWA Gold. I could be mistaken. Okay, so as we go... Yeah, as we keep going on, we get the Austin Idol commercial. Do we need to talk about these?
No.
Okay. Then next up is the non-title tag team match. Now, this was kind of interesting because this is the first time since the tag team champions won the belts that they've actually had a match where they were on the same team and it was just those two guys. It was the first time Kratos and Stevens has teamed together in a tag team match, again, since they won the titles back in December. So it was very interesting to see that work in the minutia. You could see where there was some reluctancies to make the tags. Obviously, Kratos is still kind of the heel here, and we've got Aaron Stevens who's portraying the babyface, and I do say portraying the babyface. It felt very much like like this thing could have exploded at any minute, but then they kept it together. So that I thought was kind of cool. The team of Marche Rocket and Fred Rosser, not a bad team, not a bad pairing. Joe Galley said that they had a similar look, which I that was kind of little that left me like, I mean, are we just talking about the color of their skin, because they didn't really have a similar look at all. They were a good tag team though, and I think that if they stick around, that they could have a future in the NWA. The other two things that I wanted to point out in this match is that Kratos and Fred Rosser actually have a lot of history. For those of you who don't know, they both are in New Japan Strong, where they've faced off in tag team matches and on one-on-one matches quite a bit. So they've shared the ring with each other at least 3 or 4 times before this match, and I kind of felt like you could see the chemistry there a little bit when they were working together. This wasn't a great match, but it certainly wasn't a bad match. DK, what did you think of it?
I thought it was as good as it could be, given the circumstances. Kind of gone down on Kratos. He doesn't look as sharp to me as probably a guy who's holding a world championship should. I mean, we just recently lost Don Kernoodle, who held the NWA World Tag Team Championship with both Sergeant Slaughter and Ivan Koloff. And while he was nothing more than a quote-unquote mid-carder, you know, he had a sharp look, and he executed well in the ring, and he fit tag team wrestling well. And he was believable as part of the World Tag Team Champion. I'm just struggling with Kratos. And I see what they're doing. I mean, we've talked about what they're doing with Stevens and Kratos, and I hope they, you know, pull the trigger on it quick. I don't want to go through a full other set of TV tapings without this being resolved. So that's my hope. My hope is that they pull the trigger on it quick, and, you know, like I said, the match was as good as it could be under the circumstances of what they were trying to do. Kevin, what do you think?
So, okay, Fred Rosser is Mr. No Days Off, right?
Right.
And then the other guy, please tell me his name.
All Day Marche Rocket.
So you have Marche Rocket, so you have No Days and All Day. So there's a team name waiting to happen with those two guys. You know, thrown together teams are becoming just such a common thing on this show. So I know DK's not a big fan of that. What I want, this actually to me is a match that really favors the style of Aaron Stevens, because he is a good storyteller in matches, and I felt like they made a good effort in what they're trying to do. I just, again, it kind of comes back to what DK always talks about, keeping it simple. You know, you only need like 1 or 2 moments of like angstiness between the two guys to get what you're trying to go with. So I think they had too much of that in the match. They should have had some just good solid work with less story, and then let the story kind of play out maybe at the end of the match with maybe one little spot in the middle that kind of, it makes it so much easier for the wrestlers, because wrestlers are used to wrestling matches, and putting like a match where the whole match has this kind of improvised or imposed story on the match really throws off the psychology that you're of a regular wrestling match. The other thing I have to say is, you know, there's a part of me that hopes, I have hope, guys, that this is all a big charade by Aaron Stevens, and that him and Kratos look like they're gonna break up. It looks like it's gonna be something, and then Aaron Stevens flips back to Aaron Stevens. They high five, and if they're gonna carry the belts into the next television tapings, I feel like that's what needs to happen. because I really miss Aaron Stevens' character. Like, I really, really liked his character. And funny is, I didn't know I liked it as much as I do until it's gone. And again, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And like I said, I miss his promos. I miss the comedy. You know, I miss the intentionally awkward moments that he would create. And I just think he's got way too much character to be playing such a bland character. And again, maybe if that is the plan and that's where they end up going with this, I'll be very happy with that. I just wish they could keep it a little simpler, but that's what I would love to see.
Well, I have to agree with you real quick, and I have that same feeling too, because let's not forget that he is the actor, right? The whole first 2 seasons were all about him going to Hollywood and making movies. So I do feel like this is just a show, this is a facade, and maybe that's just wishful thinking. Maybe that's on me. But I feel you, Kevin. I feel like this is just an unnecessary swerve that we'll get later. Maybe when we finally get the War Kings challenging, Kratos and Stevens. Maybe Stevens will flip that switch. Maybe he'll get dropped on his head and revert back. I don't know, but I feel like this is you're pretty much onto something.
Can I jump in real quick?
Please do.
I really like all the names that we're trying to throw out there for Rosser and gosh, tell me his name again.
Fred Rosser and Marche Rocket.
Marche Rocket. Yeah, I really keep throwing out names, guys. I bet one of them sticks.
Let's list them real quick. We've got the Day Traders, the Day Walkers, the Midday Express, and I know DK liked the Day Traders. I mean, I'm only going to be with that if they start talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
Oh, man. Well, you have all day and no day. So, all day, no days. I don't know. Who knows? But
half day.
Half day.
I like those half days. Come home, eat a lunch, take a nap. Anyways, moving right along.
Well, okay, so I guess I did forget a segment, and I'm sorry I did because I felt it was such a compelling segment. I don't know how I forgot about it, and that's Melina and Taryn Terrell talked about that matchup between Kamille and Thunder Rosa. I mean, I know it was filled with a lot of intensity and a lot of viciousness. DK, what were your thoughts?
I muted it.
Kev?
I forgot it happened, but again, I don't not like Melina. I just feel like she's kind of hit or miss. Sometimes she just hit or miss. When she's on, she's really good. And then I like Taryn Terrell's character. I do.
I do too.
I mean, it's supposed to be. It is what it. I mean, she's what she's supposed to be. And I think that we just need more stuff like that, where it's just A plus B equals C, or 1 + 2, 1 + 1 = 2. Because it's like, if everything is a swerve, if everything is convoluted, there's no stability, and there's nothing. Like, you need a little control in order to make the instabilities or the swerves mean something. It helps it mean more, and so I like that her character is what it is, and it's very predictable. I think they need a little more of that.
Real quick, I just want to say thanks to Larry. Larry purchased 2 of the Ham Sammich shirts. So, Larry, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much. You weren't kidding, Lamb. These are hot selling T-shirts. You can get yours at Streamlabs. Just follow the merch link on alliance-wrestling.com, or we've placed the link up here a couple of times. If you can see it, grab it. DKM just posted it right now. And so that was pretty cool. DK, you were about to say something before I cut you off there.
Well, I was going to say that, saying hi to Terry here. I was going to say that I agree with Kevin that Terrell, she is her character. She's doing it well. It's a fun heel character. And if this had been Melina and Terrell talking about a match between themselves, I probably would have listened and enjoyed it. I'm just, honestly, if I can say this, because we all know how much I love Thunder Rosa, but I'm just tired of that.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of these two being involved in that. So it's like, but yeah, for the character, I'm sure I love Taryn. I mean, she's a fun little vixen character. I mean, I don't have anything against her. So, and again, we're kind of focusing on some of the things that we would tweak or whatever. Overall, the show is good. I gave it a solid B in my own personal scoring thing. So, I mean, let's not get down on, I don't want people to think we were down on the show. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, very, very much so. And to your guys' point, they even mentioned that Taryn Terrell's been injured. That's why she hasn't been able to compete. And I don't know if we would see her in matches if she was healthy, but you got to believe that they're at least planting the seeds now that at some point Taryn and Melina are going to face off in the ring. And that's perfectly acceptable to me. I like the way that they're building it nice and slow. They're starting off as the buddies of, the main attraction in the women's division, and they're going to break it down slowly. Speaking of the women's division, and I know this is kind of off script, did either one of you check out AEW Dynamite to see Serena Deeb defend that NWA Women's Championship against Velvet Red, or Red Velvet, whatever her name is?
I did not. I didn't know that happened, but I've been kind of wondering about it.
Well, she just got back from her injury. She had an arthroscopic knee surgery, so she'd been out, and that's why she wasn't at the TV tapings. But she's cleared to wrestle, and even Fight now is advertising her for When Our Shadows Fall, the NWA pay-per-view coming up in just about 2 weeks. So, DK, did you see the match? I didn't see it. I don't have cable, so I totally missed it.
I'll be honest, it's recorded. I haven't gone back and watched it yet. I have heard it was good.
Yeah,
I've heard it was good.
Hearing a lot of positive about it, so I can't wait to see it when it eventually makes its way to YouTube. But it's pretty exciting that we're talking about a women's division in the NWA, and momentarily, in a few days, the pay-per-view, we're going to have Serena Deeb defend the title. We don't know for sure who it's going to be against, whether it's Kamille or Thunder Rosa, but the fact of the matter is that relationship with the NWA and AEW is finally going to bear some fruit in the opposite direction. We're going to have Serena Deeb, an AEW talent, come to the NWA to defend the Burke, and I think that's pretty exciting.
It is. And Deep's a very good professional wrestler. A professional wrestler.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she's really good. And anything that she can be a part of and do and match, you're probably going to enjoy it.
Dave Scooby said that Serena was playing the heel, and Chris Drummond said it's already on YouTube. So after this episode's over, guys, head over to the AEW. I don't normally encourage people to go watch that brand, but of course the women's title is defended on there. It should be checked out. Next up, we have Thunder Rosa, who was supposed to be taking on Kamille, and this was supposed to be the match with the stipulation that the loser has to stay in the NWA. I mean, I know that's not the exact stipulation, but that's kind of what it amounts to. And instead, because of Billy Corgan's proclamation, Thunder Rosa would not be wrestling Kamille. She, in fact, would be wrestling Jennacide instead. Now, that's kind of interesting because they didn't really specify that early on in the broadcast. They didn't specify that Kamille wouldn't be in that match, and it just kind of like, okay, now you have Thunder Rosa and Jennacide. The other interesting thing about that too is that there was a lot of advertisements from both talent and the NWA advertising conflicting matches, so we always knew something odd was going to happen. But sure enough, Thunder Rosa versus one of her proteges, Jennacide. The match wasn't great. In fact, the match was probably one of the worst matches for the women that they've had since the return. And that's not to take away from Thunder Rosa. She's a beast. She's amazing. And I've been really impressed with Jennacide. But for whatever reason, this match didn't really gel for me. Kevin, what did you think about this match? And what were your thoughts?
You know, what had me scratching my head was, actually I want to make reference to one comment on here. Somebody said, oh, I thought this was they don't hate on the NWA in this podcast, or I thought that's what they do. I must be in the wrong podcast. I thought that was kind of funny.
Who said that?
It's in there somewhere.
I'll look for it.
Wait, they enjoy the NWA. Lamb Sanvu. Wait, we enjoy the NWA? I thought we were all haters. Damn it, wrong podcast. So I thought that was kind of funny. I also like what Kokushi said. Just had a thought while I'm eating my ham sandwich. More people know Melina than know Nick Aldis. Burn. Anyway,
True.
Nick getting some heat in the Alliance chat room, which is great. That's what we need. Nothing wrong with some heat from a heel. He's a heel, guys. Newsflash. Anyways, yeah. Here's the problem. When I'm scratching my head, going, why did they just now decide to start giving us wrestling matches in a wrestling show? We've been watching all this time, and now we finally get like a good chunk of wrestling. That had me scratching my head. The other side of it is, hey, I know for a fact neither Thunder Rosa nor Jennacide were trying to go out there and have an okay match. They were going out there and try to have a good match. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. I felt like there was a little that's what we had in this match. I think you give them another match, I think they do fine. But also I think this is the problem you run into when you don't have enough wrestling matches on your show. Is that, now you don't have like 5, 6, 7 really good matches to kind of hold these matches up to. And so you end up going, it's kind of like you go, oh man, well, we finally got some wrestling, so, I better take what I can get. It shouldn't be like that. And as a wrestler, I know that, you need reps for things to work good. And I think that a lot of it is that they haven't developed much continuity in the way they present it. And so it's kind of like, I was just shocked that we got so much wrestling on this show. And again, this is kind of funny. It's like kind of like DK said earlier. It's like, I'll take okay wrestling from Thunder Rosa and Jennacide over these bunk, bootleg, whatever the heck storylines with these crazy, ideas on, what is it, where they had the 2 girls out at the same time, or what would they call that? The
Summit.
The Summit. Give me a match. And so I was happy that we got matches. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was just happy to watch some wrestling, even if maybe the work in the ring wasn't as good as we know we can get from both of them. It's like, again, not every football game is a perfect game to watch. But it's still, if you're watching 2 good teams go out there, it's still good. It's still good to watch. That's kind of how I felt about that match.
DK, what about you?
I liked it more than you did. I'll be the first to admit that there was something that didn't click between the 2 of them. And, Kevin says sometimes that happens. Just for whatever reason, you don't get in sync, you don't do it. They wrestle 50 more times, they probably have 50 different matches, and most of them will be good.
Yep.
Teacher versus student, it wasn't terrible. It was okay. All right, that's what I'll say. It was okay, and I didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the other matches on the show. But I was kind of at the point where, like Evan was saying, I was just glad to be seeing wrestling. There were 4 matches on this show. I mean, which is what they should have for the show. And I'm not going to really complain about it.
And I want to make it clear, too, that I didn't dislike the match. I'm really getting into Jennacide. I think that she has a bright future ahead of her. I hope that she sticks around the NWA and kind of helps build that up. I mean, we know Thunder Rosa's on a limited time. You know, her window is going to be shutting. By January, she will be elsewhere. And if she's not, I'll be shocked. But, you know, we don't know that about Jennacide. We don't know that about Alexia Graciana or Sky Blue. And I hope that relationship continues to blossom with Mission Pro Wrestling out there in Buda, Texas, and the National Wrestling Alliance out in Atlanta, Georgia. And to see those talents kind of come back and forth, I'm all about that. I'm all good for it. And by the way, Lamson just said that Satoshi Kojima, former NWA World Champion, is coming to Impact. And wow, that's a great catch for Impact. The other thing I wanted to say was Lamb also pointed out that they had 3 referees on the NWA program, and one of them was awful in that Kamille and Rosa match. Yeah, I hope that referee doesn't make it to the next pay-per-view. So that brings us to Tyrus and Austin Idol. And again, every time I feel like I hate Austin Idol and I hate Tyrus, they do something that's kind of interesting and a little bit more clever and a little bit more toned down, and it's interesting. And this is one of those times where you got a more toned down Austin Idol and a more over-the-top Tyrus. And I kind of thought this was a good segment. You know, they're on there holding on to Kyle Davis. Wow, that was hard for me to say. And they actually announced about 8 of the participants in the 14-man Battle Royal. The segment was kind of good. I'll go through the names here in just a minute, but DK, what did you think of this moment? What did you think of this promo? Did you mute this one?
No, I didn't. I wondered if I might need to when Idol came out, but he was on it more controlled, and he actually had me laughing when he was throwing his arm and still had the 22-inch guns, and that's the most I've ever enjoyed Austin Idol since he's been on the show. And, you know, but he was used properly and he was used right. He was boisterous, but he wasn't loud. And he was funny when he needed to be funny. He was a little bit serious when he needed to be serious. Good work, dude. I liked it. And especially those arms, man. Still got those arms.
Still got them.
And so, yeah, I mean, and here's the thing about Tyrus. He can talk. He's a good talker. And he talks right for his type of character. Whereas Idol's kind of the loud, boisterous one. He's kind of the calm, smooth talking one. And, you know, if they continue to use him, hopefully he's used this TV break to, you know, do like Stevens and, you know, get in some better shape and everything. My problem with Tyrus throughout this run has just been, seems like every time he gets in the ring, he gets tired and he's blown up by the time he gets up the steps. And so I don't know that they've used him right. I don't know that they've booked him right. But just as far as being able to get over on talking, hey, you know, the NWA's got 4 good talkers right now. And just to go back to something I didn't get to chime in on earlier when we were talking about Aaron Stevens and whether it's going to be a swerve or not, you know, I'm also kind of hope for it. But now that we're all talking about it, now I kind of hope that it's not that thing. But either way, I hope that a well-spoken Aaron Stevens comes out, because right now he's kind of boring when he talks. And we enjoy Aaron Stevens' face or heel. I mean, I've seen him at work as a face, and he's done really good. So face or heel, I hope he turns on that element of himself where he's just that excellent talker that, you know, you can just really get into what he's saying. In this case, I was really getting into who Tyrus was saying. And I can't say he made me excited about the Battle Royal they're getting ready to have, but I can say I always love his interactions with bald Kyle Davis, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Kyle Davis.
And Kyle has excellent facial expressions. I enjoy those two. A little worried that, Tyrus might start taking him out on dates or something sometimes, but other than that, They work well together, and I enjoyed that. For an interview segment, I enjoyed it.
So some of the names that are listed for the Battle Royal. Now, Tyrus is the number one entrant. So him going the distance, I mean, that's really going to be a test of his conditioning and everything else. I mean, we all have kind of this foregone conclusion who's going to win the Rumble. But also in the Battle Royal would be No Days Off, Fred Rosser. Mims actually did an interview with our friends over at This Is Pro Wrestling Podcast. You guys should check it out. You kind of get to learn a little bit more about the man that is known as Mims. We also get his mentor Jeremiah Plunkett, All Day Marche Rocket, Matt Cross, Slice Boogie, and somebody named Tiki Barband. I don't know who Blonde. I don't know who that is. I don't know. Maybe that was an inside joke, but it had him laughing. So maybe it was just a gag. But I mean, that's 8 competitors for the 14-man battle royal with 6 men remaining. Kevin, are you excited at all for the battle royal?
I mean, I kind of think I know what's going to happen. Just being honest.
Yeah.
But I do love a good battle royal. I mean, my predictions are that you're going to see Trevor Murdoch win that battle royal because of the timing. They said, well, it's going to be in 3 weeks, so it's going to be a week after he's been off. It's going to be in 3 weeks. So my guess is Trevor Murdoch's going to be in the battle royal. He's probably going to be the last person they announce. It's probably going to be some high drama around him getting in it. But I do love a good battle royal.
There was also, I do want to point this out. I found this announcement today from Pro Wrestling Insider that there's been a title match announced for July 24th in Charlotte, North Carolina, where Nick Aldis will be defending the 10 pounds of gold against Trevor Murdoch. So that was something that was just announced today on PW Insider, Mike Johnson. And that certainly could potentially play a part in what happens at this pay-per-view because, I mean, I'm not saying that, who's going to win, who's going to lose, but if we get to the pay-per-view and Trevor Murdoch is your challenger and there's a rematch that's already scheduled for July 24th, there's a good possibility that we could potentially see a title change. We could see so much happen. So I'm kind of excited if it is Trevor Murdoch just to see what's going to happen. And if it's not Trevor Murdoch, he's a good challenge to the 10 pounds of gold regardless of what happens at
Before we move on too, I would like to see maybe a couple of surprise entrants in that, just for fun.
Chris Drummond said it's going to be Enzo. He's going to win it.
Oh, burn. Oh, man.
So that brings us to the main event. A match that I honestly was looking forward to so much. It's a match that's been on the tip of my tongue since I saw both tag teams were now part of the NWA. It's a match that probably should have happened on episode 2 of the return of NWA Power. And I'm talking about The End, Odinson and Paro taking on the War Kings, Jax Dane and Crimson. And it looks like Crimson's okay. It looks like he's fine from the bump that he had last week. Looks like Jax Dane was in perfect health. He looked good in this match. DKM, I gotta get your opinion on this tag team match. I think you're a fan of tag team wrestling the way I am. What did you think about this match?
Well, we'll get to the early criticism. Like some of the other matches, it was a little sloppy. But take that out. It was big men doing big men things. I have fallen in love with Odinson. I actually want to see him as a singles wrestler. I really do. I think he'd be great. And nothing against Paro. But it was good. It was exciting. And you know what was the most exciting thing about that match and the entire show? There were no stupid stipulations in any of them.
None.
They were all straight up wrestling matches. And that's what we needed. And so I was pretty happy. And, I guess if I had one other thing to just kind of point out, I'm a little sad that the N lost, because basically as a team they're 0-2 right now. And there was a little bit of controversy at the end, and I'll let Kevin dig into that. But, you know, it's just, this is why there are enhancement matches on things. Imagine if this match had been done, if these two teams had been wrestling every other week or whatever, and, you know, just going over some of the makeshift teams that they put together. You know, then it's exciting to watch these. Hey, they've been beating everybody up. Now they get to face each other. So, again, that's a booking issue. But as far as the match was concerned, I liked it. I was happy with the winners. Kevin?
Again, love seeing big dudes go out there and beat the heck out of each other. I liked a lot of the tandem wrestling. I as well was super impressed with Odinson. I really just like, I mean, I think I'd like to see him face off against Latimer. It would just be combustible elements. But don't give me no 605 time limit either. I want to see them boys get blown up. I want to see them both laying there on a double down, breathing hard for real. So I'd love to see that. You know, I want to like Peril. Like I want to. But they're just something I'm just not. Again, when you see him in there with Odinson, you can see the difference of intensity in terms, and again, people's personalities. I'm not saying that you got to be all demonstrative to be intense, but there was also some interesting communication stuff that I noticed going on between them two. Some kind of like head scratching moments. And again, I'm not on the inside. I don't know what's going on. Probably trying to set up a hot tag and want to make sure the right guy's in the ring at the right time. Loved the workings. Kind of like what DK said, I would have just liked to see more. Like, it'd have been great to see them wrestle a few matches and then come out and do this. Because again, I go back to like that repetitive nature, and I think that's why you saw kind of sloppy matches, because a lot of these matches were the first time a lot of these wrestlers have wrestled each other, or again, it's just having a rhythm of having more wrestling on the show will always produce better wrestling. And so as a whole, I liked the match. I enjoyed it. Like I said, there was some slobber knocking, there was some trade-offs of some big shots getting thrown, which I love. It wasn't a bunch of like filler stuff where they go outside the ring and slam each other on the apron, or, you know, like they actually put some work into the match. As far as the finish goes, hey, I have no criticism of what they did. Like, I actually kind of like the idea of a controversial finish. I like that idea, because how many sports games have we watched where we're like, no, the ref screwed it up, you know? But when I was doing my tryouts for WWE, Arn Anderson pulled me to the side and he was like, look, when the guy is going to drop an elbow and you're going to move, you know you're going to move. You know he's going to miss, so you don't have to move early. Like, wait till the very last minute, because it's a work. Like, that's part of like the beauty, the magic, the sleight of hand, how did he miss him? There's just a timing issue, I felt like, there at the end, where it was just so obvious that, like I said in our chat, they botched the botch. Like, it was a botch, intentional, but they botched the intentional botch by it being so obvious that the ref's sitting there just looking right at him, lift his shoulder up, I mean, and counting it anyway. So again, those are that's a little thing that I think, you know, my wife still thinks Ronda Rousey beat Becky Lynch, or didn't lose to Becky. See, she still thinks because Ronda Rousey's shoulder was up on the pin count. That's the kind of controversy they're really trying to create. But again, that's something that you need to. It needs to be a little more well done. And again, I'm not trying to apples to apples compare those two things. I was just bringing it up because I knew she'd react. But no, I just think that was the only real thing for me. But as a whole, like, I liked it. I enjoyed it.
My problem with it, and I enjoy all four of these guys, and I don't have a problem liking Paro. I think Paro is great. I wish we could see more of the Paro that completely decimated Jordan Clearwater than the one that we've had recently. And he looked to be blown up in this match. There was a point where he went for where Odinson went for the tag, and Paro kind of just shoved him off. And I don't know if that was part of being in the right place at the right time. I don't know if that was planned or if he was just blown up and couldn't get back in the ring. But
I had the same thought. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I had the same thought because I went back and watched it, and I was like, okay, because I watched the succession of events that happened afterwards. My guess, giving them the benefit of the doubt, is that they're trying to set up kind of the finish of the match, and they need the right guy in the ring for the right stuff. But I thought what you thought too. I thought, is he blown up? Is that why he didn't want to go in there? Maybe he's a little blown.
And if that's
tag in and tag right back out, it's not like you can't. It's not hard.
And if that's the case, that they were trying to swerve it to get the right person in the ring. Man, they should have done a better job of editing that part out, because it was like they could have, they had that laser focused right in there. Like a different camera could have been maybe a little bit more beneficial at that point. Because in that moment, it just looked like he was done with the match. Like, I'm finished. And I don't think that's, like, from what I know of Paro, I don't believe that to be true. But it just in that instance, it didn't look great. It didn't look good. Didn't look good for him. Didn't look good for the tag team. But to both of what you guys said, a couple of Hosses in the ring doing Hoss things, I was all about it. I got pumped up for that match. I was really excited to see it. The finish didn't bother me one bit. I was totally good with the referee missing the shoulder coming up, because that creates controversy. That you could book something off of that down the road. You have a legitimate claim now. If War Kings win the tag titles, which that's what I'm hoping for. If they win the belts, you could have the end say, hey, wait a minute, you guys didn't even really beat us. That should have been us challenging for those title belts. And now you have a storyline that makes sense, and it's not super convoluted either. So that was the show.
Yeah, going on some of that.
Oh my God!
I'll be honest.
The chat right now is just on fire. If you guys haven't.
Yeah, I saw. But, with the part you're talking about with, Zempera, I just thought it's sloppy, not necessary. I didn't try to read anything else into it. I just kind of thought it was a sloppy moment, and I think Kevin kind of nailed it. I don't have a problem with it being controversial at the end. Jay went black again. There he goes. I don't have a problem with it being controversial. I'm like everybody else, is talking about. I think it sets up intrigue and a possible rematch. Kevin just nailed it when he said it was so obvious that the referee saw it, and you almost saw him hold his count as in, like, I don't know what to do now. And look, I've seen that before. David Manning did that in World Class when Kevin Von Erich was pinning Chris Adams one time. Chris Adams' shoulder just accidentally popped up, and David Manning just kind of like paused for a second and then counted 3. Because it popped up and popped back down, and it was just like, but to me, this is where, I'll talk about, there are promoters, even WWE, where the referees are supposed to basically be shooters. They're supposed to do the counts, and they're supposed to do things and call it as if it was a true, real match. And I think if he had just stopped the count at that point, it would have been up to the guys to do something again real quick, and got a different version of a controversial pin. I think the ability to call things on the fly has kind of disappeared. And, Kevin might have more to say about this, but I think the ability to work has kind of disappeared a little bit too. And a lot of people don't know what it means when they say, work a wrestling match. But the whole working is the idea that we're making it look real, but we're really working together. But they're not supposed to know we're working together. They're supposed to be thinking it's real. And so that's why things were called on the fly, or you wrestled the guy so many times that you just knew what to do. Jim Ross tells the story of Harley Race and Dory Funk, where Harley Race was defending the title against Dory Funk, and they go, it was going to be a draw. And they go, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to do like we did in, Florida, or you want to do like we did in Texas, or, how do you want to do it? And so they picked a match, and, Jim Ross says, he goes, I never heard either one of them call a thing the entire match. They went 60 minutes just wrestling.
That's incredible.
And sadly, it's a lost art.
Yeah.
But that's my
true.
3 cents. That's my 3 cents for the show.
Well, hey, me and Chase
overall
Owens
positive
wrestled.
stuff.
Me and Chase Owens wrestled 30 minutes with probably just 3 spots called. Tore the house down. Well, it's also how you practice. But I would say if I'm in that situation, the thing that's going to make me the most uncomfortable if I'm wrestling for the NWA right now on their TV shows is the short time limits, because it makes you feel really pressed to get everything together. And what I don't understand is with an edited show, a taped show, like they could make it so much better, and again, this is like, I know they call us NWA haters on here, but we've already defended ourselves that that's not why we're here. It's just something that I'm going, man, get you a good editor, get you somebody that really is good at that. And this show, this season would be better had they had better editing as a whole. It would have actually been better. I feel like had they edited it better. That's just how I see it. Because it's a taped show. So say you have this botched finish, right? I mean, it's not hard on the spot out there. It's not like it's a live show and the crowds are going to be like, oh, boo, it's not live. Like, go back, cut the scene, go run it again. They could have done this numerous times on this, and a lot of it is you got to have a good set of eyes watching the show, going through the camera lens, and I'm sure they do, going, hey, that we got to redo that. This is a 5-star production, because it really is. Like, they have phenomenal production in terms of the camera, the studio, the sound, all of that. I mean, sometimes I think their graphics and commercials, they'd be better off without them because they fall so short of what the show production level is. Ricky Morton, it just doesn't fit. I mean, Ricky Morton's video would be great on as a bootleg YouTube video, but it's not like we're on a $1 million production, so you at least think they'd see that commercial and go, hey, love you, but let's tweak this thing a little better than iPhone quality. And again, I'm taking shots at Ricky just to make you guys laugh.
I'm laughing,
but I'm asking why. How does that get on a show like that? You never see that on AEW or Ring of Honor or any of these other shows. You never see a bootleg thing like that. So I just think, again, the big opportunities here, I think, would just be, again, editing goes into this. So say they wrestle 15 minutes, but you only have 8 minutes slotted for the showtime. You to cut the match down, man. I mean, it's not hard,
Especially when there's not a real crowd.
Right, but even if you have a studio audience, Devin, they know they're there for that. It's a studio audience. Like, Jay, you were there live. Like, would that bother you? I mean, you're there live. You know why you're there. You're there to be the studio crowd. It's not a live event.
When I went to the show, when I was at the Atlanta TV taping, they went through everything. They didn't stop and restart. I think they restarted an introduction once, and that's it. They didn't change much of the show, but if they did, I mean, like you said, it's a studio audience. They're there for that specific reason. And I've been at WWE shows where they were filming content for, you know, the secondary shows, and if a match sucked, they went out there and redid it.
Right.
And that's the WWE.
Right. Well, and I would say this too. Like, it's not hard to send a face wrestler out there on a microphone and be like, hey guys, I know you're going to hate to get more wrestling tonight, but we had a few hiccups in our show. We need to make sure we've got good reel to put in certain segments of the show. Hey, enjoy. You know, please interact. Please help us out a little bit here, because we're just, you know, we all know what we're here trying to do. You know, so that's just a little tidbit that could help because I think having the shorter matches is fine. I just think it makes it hard when you guys talk about impromptu wrestling. It gets hard to impromptu in a 6-minute match. You know, like it's bam, bam, bam. You almost have to call everything in a match like that, because everything has to matter. Like, and all of it has to be timed just right, or it just doesn't come out right. And it's a lot harder. I just telling you firsthand, it's a lot harder than when you say, okay, you got 12 minutes or 10, 12 to go out there and tell a story. Well, shoot, you know, cut the match down for TV if you need to cut certain segments out. It wouldn't be hard to do that.
Now, I'm okay with that. I'm against, I'll be bloody honest, and I know WWE does it or has done it in the past, and I didn't like it then, so I'm going to stay consistent. I'm not a big fan of, you know, I always say a botch isn't a botch unless you, except for under two circumstances. One, you ignore it, or two, you go right back and do the exact same thing. I mean, I was in when I went to the NWA show that they did just before WrestleMania in Fort Worth a few years back, of all people, the ring announcer is the one that botched a 3-way match, because he said after the pinfall, it was a what do you call it, triple threat or whatever, just one pinfall to win the match. But the ring announcer after the pinfall goes, so-and-so's been eliminated. And Lance Hoyt and Raymond Rowe are staring at each other because the match is supposed to be over. And they're like, okay. And Hoyt charges, and Rowe hits him with something and hits a finisher, and they get a 3 count off of that. You know, now the match is over, and it made sense to what the ring announcer said. Yeah, there was about a 5-second pause. I mean, I'll be honest, they did look at each other confused, but then they did it. They did something different. They did what needed to be done to take care of the situation. And, you know, that's what I'm saying. Hey, if they wrestle for 15 minutes, but you only got 8 minutes to plug it in, and you can find smooth cuts, that's one thing. But I would be opposed to going, oops, we screwed up, everybody. And although the NWA audience, for the most part, is made up of hardcore fans, like Kevin says, who will all understand or do it or whatever, you know, I think the ultimate goal, you need to learn to improvise one way or the other, because at some point you're going to be out in live, you know, in front of live people paying for tickets. And no, they don't want you to come out in the middle of the thing. Oh my God, did we blow that match? So we're going to redo it here after this next one.
Yeah,
you better learn.
Well, and I would say, yeah, in that scenario, and that's in the back of my mind as I was talking, is that, you know, when you're at a pay-per-view, the matches are longer, you have a captive audience, you're not looking at a television type scenario, which again, we had these are pay-per-view as well, so you do have a captive audience. Again, I think that's a little different of a circumstance. I think you got to let it ride in that circumstance. But honestly, either or. I think both are good opinions. Like, I think what you're saying is right. you want to get it right the first time. You know, I hard to disagree either way.
And you really can't. Like, at the bottom line, we talked about this last week, and Kevin, you said, nope, they don't get a pass. Because I was bringing up the fact that, hey, there's some ring rust, there's some guys who aren't in ring shape. You said, no, they don't get a pass. Which, okay, they don't get a pass. But we do know that after 3 days of TV taping, or was it 4, I'm not sure, that was it. And we got a battle royal, and we got a women's match next week, and that's probably it. And then they're going to tape more matches in June for the next round of shows. And hopefully we're going to get some more quality booking. We're going to see better wrestling. And hopefully the ring rust and out of shapeness is kind of being dusted off as we speak, so that when these guys get back into the ring on June 6th for the pay-per-view and the subsequent television tapings, we're going to get a better product. I mean, the director will be in better spot, the editor will be in a better spot, the cameraman will be in better spots. Joe Galli has been gold, so I have no complaints about him. But we have, Velvet Sky now has, a whole 8 weeks of television under her belt. Now she's going to be a little bit better. Everyone involved should be a little bit better, and if they're not, someone should hold them accountable. And when I say someone, I mean you, the audience. If this isn't a good program, you need to come out and say it, because there's too many people out there wearing the Emperor's new clothes and they're just closing a blind eye saying, yeah, this is great, this is quality, when it hasn't been. Honestly, that's one thing you're getting on this show that you might not get anywhere else, is we're honestly telling you that this hasn't been as good as it should be. We all believe in this product. That's why we're here. We all believe in this product.
Hey, let me jump in. I'm buying the pay-per-view. Even if you didn't give me the... you know why? NWA and Nick Aldis, because of these two guys, because of the guys over here in the chat room. It's for you guys. Because I love doing this, honestly. And I love wrestling. I'm buying the pay-per-view. I haven't canceled my subscription either. I'm going to watch the next round. So, don't like what we say all you want, but you can't say we're not committed. You can't say we don't love the product.
We should be committed.
And it's like, kind of goes back to what I was saying before, that, we're not, maybe Jay, but I'm not doing this vocationally. This is more because I like hanging out with my boys on a Thursday night talking about wrestling, because we all love it. And honestly, I think we all love NWA, maybe more than we should. But anyways, Jay, sorry to butt in on you there.
No, I mean, but that's just it, right? So, as Kevin was saying, as I'm saying, as DKM will say, we're all a fan of the brand. It's not like we dislike these wrestlers. With everything that Nick Aldis has said in the last week, I still think he's a great world heavyweight champion. I still think very highly of him as a competitor. I still think that maybe he is the best guy to hold the 10 pounds of gold. Am I kind of tired of seeing him in the ring? Yes. Am I kind of tired of these accolades that people keep talking about when he hasn't defended the title, but maybe twice in 2021? Yes. But do I still think he's a phenomenal athlete and one of the best in the world? Yes.
One correction there.
What's that?
We're not tired of seeing him in the ring because we don't see him in the ring.
Correct.
We're tired of him starting off every episode of the show except 2 now.
Right.
And so,
and I would say that has less to do with him and more to do with just creative programming. I mean, I don't think any of us have a problem with him on the mic.
No, he's a
good promo.
He's a great promo. He might be the second best guy on the show. But again, it's like we want this to continue to grow. I don't want the Nick Aldis show. I just want Nick Aldis on this show, if that makes any sense. But we're going to wrap it up, guys, because we've talked about the show. We'll be back here next week to continue to talk about the show. And, of course, I'll be here on Tuesday to get you set up for the pre-party of NWA Power.
Do this again?
What's that?
We have to do this again?
Yes.
We get to do this again, DK. We get to do this again.
I need to reread my contract.
You're working without a contract, buddy. You're going to get $10.99 at the end of the year. Real quick, Kikuchi says, how come the most important part and most advertised part of the pay-per-view is the new song, and it's not been hyped by the three of us?
I actually have I know why we haven't hyped it, because I don't care. But I actually have a theory as to why that's the most hyped. And to be completely honest, I don't think they had a clue what was going to be on the pay-per-view other than some vague ideas when they did this set of tapings.
Sure.
I mean, I think they figured that they'll probably build towards, Aldis and whoever they put him in the ring with, if it's Murdoch. And maybe with the tag team titles. But outside of that, I don't think they really had much of a clue. Personal opinion, but there's not really anything in the show that's been building up to say, here's your 5 or 6, match card.
Yeah,
well, I'll give you my mock card if y'all want, or you want to wait for a week.
Let's save that for next week, because we'll be leading right up to it. But we are going to end it here, guys. So, again, I want to thank you for everyone who was watching. Again, Kevin always says it, but you guys are an equally important part of the show. It's so much fun to hang out with you guys. We get Kikuchi in the house, Jimmy, Terry. I don't want to leave anyone out, but there's Lamb, there's Dave Scooby. All of you guys really do make this show so enjoyable. And if I forgot your name, Chris Drummond, Sean Mega, you guys really do help make this show fun for us every week. So we do appreciate you being here. Secondly, for those of you who picked up the shirt or are planning to pick up the shirt, thank you. Kevin mentioned that he doesn't get paid for the show. This show doesn't make money. Those t-shirts will make money, but we do appreciate that. That is very kind of you. And what we're doing is making chicken salad out of chicken shit. So I do thank you guys for again being a part of this podcast and contributing to the t-shirts. That really does mean a lot. DKM, when folks want to follow you on the Twitters, how do they do it?
Well, any day now, I expect Nick Aldis to block at DKMFWTX.
And Kevin, what's your account for Nick Aldis to block?
I probably don't even know I exist, but you can find me at Kevin Lee Frazier on Twitter. You can definitely find me on Instagram under the same handle. Jay has my name spelled properly on here.
It only took a few months.
If you want to, and then if you want to find some of my old wrestling videos, you can find me on it's Kevin Douglas 247 on YouTube, or you can just Google Kevin Douglas Wrestling. I also have motivational speaking. If you want to see that workout video where I use the same iPhone app as Ricky Morton, it's on my Just Kevin 247. Maybe I'll send that link over to Jay, and he can lead the show off with that next week, so I can get a good rib on that commercial. So we're all holding belts. Maybe I'll put my name on the record in the record books on Wikipedia. That's all I got.
And of course, you guys can follow us on all social medias at the Alliance Blog. We do appreciate you guys being a part of the show every week. And again, I do appreciate your support. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, but most of all, if you guys haven't followed us on Twitter yet, because I've been doing this for a decade and I don't even have 2,000 followers yet, I'd really appreciate it if you can give us a thumbs up on Twitter. And again, if you guys like the show, if you enjoy the content, please return next week. Give us a thumbs up, hit like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. And that's going to do it for us here at the Alliance Guys podcast. So I just want to say thank you guys again for being here, and we'll see you at the matches. Good night now.